Hello everyone, RuneSmith here. This video today is going to be, I just got my first beginner's pick set. What do I do now? So it doesn't matter how big your new pick set is, how small it is, where you got it, if it was a cheap Amazon set, if it was Lock Tools or anything in between those. I've got some Covert instruments here. It's not exactly the FNG set, but you'll have something like these in your set. Whatever you chose, you're going to have something like these. Lots of people pick the Sparrow's Tuxedo, and that's got things like this in it as well. So you just got your first pick set. I want you to sort out some picks. So first I want you to find something that looks something like that. This is called a hook. This one is a flat style of hook, as you can see there. Yours doesn't have to be flat if you haven't got one, but if you do, it'll probably be the easiest to start with. Now, you might have different depths of hook. Start with the shortest one you can find. Once you have that sorted out, find one that looks like this. It's going to have lots of little peaks on it. You could also choose something that looks like this. You probably have one that looks like this. And I'll give you a couple of other options as well of the common rakes you might get. You might have one like this, or you might have one like this. Okay, so this is a city rake, looks like the skyline, or an L rake. This is a snake. This one is how many peaks on that? Quint. It's a type of wave rake. The triple peak I showed you is known as Bogota style. And there's many other types of rake as well, but you can use them in the beginning in the same kind of way. We're going to start with these two. The next thing I want you to sort out, and you might have multiple of these or you might just have one of these, but it's this flat bar here. Now I don't want there to be any twists in it if you can avoid it. I just want it to have a long end and a short end. And if you have multiple, brilliant. If you only have one, that will do. Okay? These are called tensioners, or tension wrenches. Now, you may observe that when you put it in a lock, you are applying torsion, which is the circular motion. So I'm applying torsion. However, I believe the tension comes from putting tension on the shear line where the pin goes, pulling it, and then pulling the two pins apart from each other. That's where I believe tension comes from. But these are known as tension wrenches, tensioners, or tension bars. So, when you got your first kit, you may have got a clear plastic lock in it. If you want to play around with it a little bit and watch the pins and how these make them move, go ahead. Other than that, throw it away, put it to one side, use it for demonstrations, use it for seeing how different profiles affect the pins. Don't use it to learn to pick. These are probably the locks you were suggested by the community to learn how to pick. This one, you either love it or you hate it. Its feedback is not great. This one is probably the most suggested to learn how to SPP. And again, another nice little easy one here. I actually really love this lock because it's great for doing demos on. So first thing I want you to do is get your tensioner. If you have multiple, find maybe the medium one. Get the lock that you were suggested. I want you to put the long end into the bottom of the keyway. Now you'll notice that there's a little pin at the top there. This is known as bottom of the keyway. Really, it's the top of the keyway in the UK because most of the time, not all the time, the pins face down, especially in Euro cylinders and things like that. But in the community, it's known as bottom of the keyway. So put your tension bar in there and make sure there's a nice little bit of movement and that the tensioner doesn't lock. Sometimes it will grab on to the metal at the bottom and actually jam the lock from turning. So make sure it feels nice and loose and put your tension on. I like to tension with my thumb like this. Grab whichever rake you chose, and I want you to put a feather touch, so just enough that it stops moving, and that's it, no more than that. Get your rake, and I want you to do a scrubbing motion, which is just forward and back. Don't worry if it's taken a long time. You're just doing a nice little scrubbing motion forward and backwards. You can change the speed, and if you notice that nothing's happening, that means you're probably not lifting the pins high enough. So I want you to put a little bit more pressure on the pins, not too much, and continue. If that's still not working, push it down a little bit more. And again, continue. And there you should have scrubbed open your first lock. Let's try that again. We're sticking with that scrubbing motion, just forward and backwards, and that feather touch tension. So I'm starting on no pressure on the pins at all, just brushing the tops. After a few seconds, nothing seems to be happening. Bit more pressure on the pins. Nothing seems to be happening. Bit more pressure on the pins, pushing them almost all the way down now. Scrubbing those pins, and you'll feel the core turn. Congratulations, you've just learned how to scrub a lock open. While we're here, let's continue on this roll. Now, this type of rake is not usually used for rocking. However, some of you may have chosen this rake, which you can scrub with as well, like we just did. Sometimes it might be a bit more difficult. But it can be done. What this rake works good for is rocking, so moving in and out and simulating as many key bittings as possible. So we can try that, and we can try that with our wave rake as well. We just have to be extra gentle. Put it in, no tension, feather touch tension again, and you just want to simulate as many key bittings as you can. With this, it's easier to overset pins than the previous method. So you may need to take the tension off and then put it back on just to reset the pins. So that's your rocking. You have now learnt two methods of how to rake open a lock. I'll show you with the wave rake. Again, just being extra gentle, and there we go. Works a dream. You should never feel like you're forcing your pick or your tensioner. Not at this stage of the game anyway. And sometimes locks do that. They'll open for you one way, and then you'll try to do the same thing, and it'll be way more difficult. Don't worry about it, just carry on. We'll try a different method. There we go. Your first SPP. Now, I have done a video of this in the past, and I'd love for you to go and watch it and give me those views. But let's do our first SPP. Now I'm going to take the small end of the tension wrench. I'm going to put it in the top of the keyway where the pins are there, but I'm going to make sure that it's not hitting that first pin. So I'll put it all the way in, pull it out a fraction of a millimeter, and then lock it in by turning there. I'm going to get this. If you remember what this is called, this is our hook. And because this has a nice clear way from the bottom of the top, a nice open keyway, I'm going to put it in at the bottom and pick upwards. So now this will be a slightly more complicated than your raking. I'm going to try and touch each pin. That feels springy. That feels springy. That feels springy. And I missed the first one. The first one felt stiff. I gave it a slight tap, a slight little bit of pressure, and it gave me a little click. I'm going to move on. Springy. That one was binding, so it felt a bit tougher, and I got a little click out of it. And that one feels springy. So now this one, which I got the click out of, I have a tiny little bit of spring out of it. So I'm going to leave it alone. There's my last click. So it felt a bit stiff and I gave it a little bit of pressure and the core turned. Just going to test my tensioners to see what fits nicely for me. I'm going to go ahead with this one. Now I'm going to put my pick to the back. I'm going to put the pressure on, the tension, and I'm going to see which one. So my pick will maneuver all the pins and push them down as I drag it over the top, except for one of them, it will be like a speed bump and my pick will have to go over the top. So see that? My pick cannot maneuver that pin. It's going over the top of it. So what I'll do is I'll get onto the highest point of that and I'll click it down. I'll keep going until I get another one and then I'll click that one down. And start from the back again. And there we go. So now you have learned two methods of finding binding pins with an SPP. You've learned how to scrub locks open and you've learned how to rock locks open as well. Thank you for watching. Please let me know if there's anything else that you would like to know. Please leave me a comment. If you're new to picking, welcome to the community. If you're just one of my regular viewers or you found this video interesting, thank you for sticking around to the end, going over things that you already know. Yeah, thanks for watching.